Welcome to day one of my adventure paddling the Tumut and Murrumbidgee Rivers. I've just had a big day, but a really exciting day, paddling down Talbingo Dam. Started this morning up at the far end of Talbingo Dam, a place called O'Hare's Campground, or sometimes called Sioux City. Paddled the length of the dam and then had to walk the kayak the rest of the way down into Talbingo, which was always part of the trip. So I got a trolley and had to portage the kayak down into town. This is all part of a trip to paddle from Talbingo all the way down the Tumut River to where it joins the Murrumbidgee, and from there paddle the rest of the way down the Murrumbidgee. So going past the towns of Gundagai, Wagga, Narrandera, Darlington Point, Hay, Balranald, and then finishing up down at Boundary Bend on the Murray River. Fairly big trip, but one that's got plenty of risks about it, and I really hope I get to go the whole way. The Murrumbidgee's been in flood now for quite a few weeks. The river's dropping, but that's probably the biggest risk at the moment, is whether I'll be able to get onto the Murrumbidgee and paddle. Things are very wet and pretty muddy, but that shouldn't stop me as long as the river level isn't in flood. Unfortunately, there's a big rain event predicted for 4 days' time, another 40 to 80 mils. That might bring the Murrumbidgee back up into flood level. If it does, that'll pretty well can the trip for this year and I'll have to pull out. But we'll wait and see. I'll paddle the next few days. We'll get down into Tumut, reassess each day, see how things are going. Really nice out here this morning on Blowering Dam. I'm in the middle of the dam, crossing over from one side to the other. And you can see how beautiful the water is this morning. There's no wind, it's really calm. Welcome to day 2 of paddling the Bidgee, and it's been a really pleasant day, a really good one. I really enjoyed it. Basically today involved paddling down Blowering Dam, and you can see behind me it's looking spectacular. At the moment I'm set up at a campsite called Blowering Campsite, which is just near the dam wall. So it was an early start this morning, was up quite early onto the water, got down here to the campsite fairly early as well, was here just before lunchtime. The paddle was spectacular, the water was calm, it was glassy. No boats around, so it felt as though I had the dam to myself. I think it was a rare day, it was just beautiful. Paddling went really well. I got rid of a heap of gear last night at Talbingo. I left a heap of gear at Pete's place, thanks Pete. So consolidated, quite a few things across the board, so some spares and maintenance equipment I was able to put some aside. Food, consolidated food, clothing. I was able to probably leave behind about a third of my clothing because I had a fair bit of doubling up on stuff, so I decided to go fairly hard with the clothing, but still maintain safe sort of clothing with plenty of warm clothes and so on if needed. And then one or two luxury items. So I was carrying a lovely little old favourite blanket, but it just took up too much space, though it's gone. So as a result, the kayak packed a lot better this morning. Everything seemed to fit in a lot easier, and the kayak sat a lot better in the water. So we moved along this morning pretty well, paddling. I did feel the paddling on my arms after yesterday's big day. It was really nice to get here at the campsite. I've potted around so far. One of the things I have done is do a bit of maintenance on the trolley. So again, tomorrow I've got to trolley the kayak about 4 kilometres to get around Blowering Dam wall, so down the road. And really worried about the trolley, whether it's not in great shape. I don't think it's really designed to carry the weights that it's been dragging. So there are a few things out of alignment, a bit of rubbing occurring. I've done a bit of adjustments and straightened things up. Hopefully that trolley will get me down the hill tomorrow. That's really all I need it to do. Day 3 of the paddle started off with the portage around Blowering Dam wall. Basically that involved the kayak on its trolley and pulling it about 4 kilometres around Blowering Dam access road down to the Tumut River. The road itself was closed. There was a number of large washouts on the road. Thankfully the trolley held together. That was my biggest worry about the third day. It's the last big job the trolley had to do, and it got the 4 kilometres, a little bit worse for wear, a bit twisted, but it carried the weight and we got there okay. So that was a huge relief to get down onto the Tumut River. Then paddling on the Tumut River, which is a glorious paddle. It's about a 26 kilometre paddle from the dam into the town of Tumut. Had a bit of rain earlier on to start with, but then the rain cleared. I was able to get the drone up and get a few shots. Paddling along the Tumut River is a lot of fun. It's quick, the water's in a real rush to get out of the mountains. There's a lot of twists and turns. The only real thing I had to worry about on the Tumut River was there's 3 bridges to go under. The heights under the bridges ended up being fine, but there was a fair bit of debris caught up at each bridge, one in particular close to town, that there's only a real narrow gap where there wasn't trees and wood stuck caught in the bottom of the bridge. So I had to go around those. Approached each bridge with caution, ready to pull up on the bank if there wasn't a clear way through. But as it turned out, managed to get through 3 bridges and down into town. It's quite different paddling to being on the still water of the dam. You don't have to paddle as hard to move along, but you do have to be very mindful of making sure you don't get into any snags or get pushed into some of the trees on the bends of the river. When I reached Tumut, I had the decision to make of what to do. The Murrumbidgee's been in minor flood, and with the main rain event coming, there's predictions for minor to major flooding along the Murrumbidgee from Gundagai through to Wagga, with the river below Wagga still in major flood levels down through Narrandera. So it was fairly easy in the end to make the decision that I shouldn't be going on past Tumut down onto the Murrumbidgee River. So I've had a pause. I was hoping that the river would have dropped a lot more than it did, but as it turned out, they were releasing a lot of water out of Burrinjuck Dam, and that kept going at a fairly high rate, and so the river never really dropped as I was hoping it would. I can't help feel for those along the river and the other rivers in New South Wales and Victoria that are severely impacted by the flooding. So from here I'll try and get back up to Tumut and do the Tumut to Wagga section before Christmas. That's 4 days paddling, about 190 kilometres. And then the remaining 960 kilometres from Wagga down to the Murrumbidgee River will take about 3 weeks. I'll look to do that towards the end of February. So as disappointing as it is, I look forward to getting back up to Tumut and continuing the paddle down the Tumut and Murrumbidgee Rivers.